Hey, let's take a trip around the curve. Teamsters Basic Crafts put pressure on AMPTP to set the tone for the remainder of their talks as IRC returns to the table. Floyd Collins' music is to make a long-awaited Broadway debut as part of Lincoln Center's 40th anniversary season. Adina Menzel is returning to Broadway next year in a new musical, Redwood, and Nick Jonas and Adrienne Warren are starring in the first ever Broadway staging of the Last 5 Years musical. Rapper Nas is bringing hip-hop classic Beat Street to Broadway. Rosemarie DeWitt joins Netflix limited series Untamed along with Sam Neill and Eric Bana, all joining the cast of Untamed. NAACP, Handy Foundation, and Netflix team up to support next generation of hair and makeup artists. Hannah Minghella joins Netflix as head of feature animation live-action family film. Sophia Carson and Corey Milcreast are starring in the feature adaptation of My Oxford Year for Netflix in Temple Hill. David Tennant, Jonathan Pryce, Naomi Ackie, Daniel Mays, and Henry Lloyd Hughes join Netflix in Amblin's Richard Osman's adaptation of The Thursday Murder Club. Catherine Bigelow's Netflix film has Idris Elba and Rebecca Ferguson circling. As part of the agreement, former President and First Lady will have a multi-year first-look deal with the streamer. Conrad Vernon and Daniel Sterling launch an animation straight-up creative. First project is with John Stamos at Netflix. Jennifer Lawrence's murder mystery package The Wives lands at Apple. A24 is co-producing. 7th Animation is Film Festival is set for October in Los Angeles. American Sniper scribe Jason Hall inks an overall deal with Amazon MGM Studios. Mark Wahlberg and Paul Walter Hauser are set to star in the Amazon MGM action comedy Balls Up from Peter Farrelly. Riz Ahmed and Ben Carlin are teaming up on an Amazon comedy series about a struggling actor. And Milana Vayntrub joins Amazon MGM Studios in their upcoming film Project Hail Mary. Patrick Dempsey joins the cast of Dexter original sin in a series regular role. Ooh, I can't wait. That sounds yummy. Alan Cumming, host and producer of the hit Peacock series The Traitors, signs a first-look producing deal with NBC Universal. Michael Chernus is to play serial killer John Wayne Gacy in Peacock's true crime limited series Devil in Disguise, and the Jim Henson Company is planning a sale of the historic Chaplin Studios lot in Hollywood. Odessa Young joins Jeremy Allen White in Bruce Springsteen's pick Deliver Me from Nowhere. Jonathan Majors is set to star in Martin Villeneuve's revenge thriller Merciless, first project since the actor's assault conviction. Miley Cyrus is signing with CAA, and Lil Rel Howery and Knowledge Beckham are bringing What's Funny Comedy Festival to Chicago in September. Superman and Lois, The Chosen Season 4, set for fall premiere dates on the CW. Travis Knight is set to direct an animated adaptation of Susanna Clark's bestseller Piranesi for Laika. Eureka Day sets a Broadway cast: Zoe Shaw, Amber Gray, Jessica Heck, Bill Irwin, and Thomas Middleditch. Jacqueline Lianga and Michael Stotz are appointed the Berlinale co-directors of film programming. Sony Pictures Classic acquires Richard Linklater's Blue Moon. Ethan Hawke, Margaret Qualley, Bobby Cannavale, and Andrew Scott are set to star. Hulu orders a comedy pilot from Max Muchnick, David Cohan, and Ryan Murphy, starring Nathan Lane, Matt Bomer, and Linda Lavin. Will Smith and Sony and Escape Artist team on sci-fi thriller Resistor. Scott Feinstein is promoted to president of 42 West's entertainment marketing division, and Apple Original Films' Formula One Brad Pitt movie lands a summer 2025 global theatrical release with Warner Brothers. YouTube series Alan's Universe signs Chelsea Sick as lead actress. Actors Equity ceases development contracts as negotiations with producers stall. Tatiana Mosley is set to star in the Night Beast pilot for Amazon MGM Studios, and Ronald D. Moore returns to Sony Pictures Television with an overall deal. Jordan Peele's fourth directorial lands October 2026 with a theatrical release. Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis is to be released by Lionsgate in the U.S., and the Sympathizer star Hua Zhande signs to UTA. Blue Jean breakout Rosie McEwen joins George McKay in Paul Wright's mission. An Officer and a Gentleman has a modern day update in the works at Paramount Pictures with Miles Teller tapped to star in a role that made Richard Gere a star. Maya Erskine graduates and leaves Mr. and Mrs. Smith to play a samurai in Blue Eye Samurai. Succession star Harriet Walter is playing Margaret Thatcher from Stephen Frears, James Graham, and Steve Coogan. Manny Jacinto is circling Freaky Friday 2, and Apple TV Plus signs a first-look deal with Maya Rudolph's newly formed company, Banana Split Projects. Meredith Dawson is adapting Stacey Abrams' novel Rules of Engagement for Universal with Kerry Washington producing, and Emily Blunt is circling Steven Spielberg's next summer tempo at Amblin and Universal. Gabrielle Sloyer and Matthew Modine joined The Better Sister as series regulars, and Grace Van Patten has been slated to play Amanda Knox in the Hulu limited series. Ben Barnes and Mary Louise Parker are starring in the series ordered The Institute by MGM Plus based on Stephen King's novel. Disney finds their live-action Moana in Catherine Lakaaya. Congratulations. Zazie Beetz is set to star in Musicate Nocturna first film They Will Kill You for Skydance. T. Jones, Michael G. Wilson, Barbara Broccoli, Juliet Taylor, and Richard Curtis are receiving honorary Oscars at Academy Governors Awards next year, along with the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award. Ketchup Entertainment takes on North America with an animated feature, Ozzy, Voice of the Forest, starring Amandla Stenberg. Ashley Nicole Black joins Shrinking Season 2. Romeo Mafia is set for X is Entertainment McGraw's sister's horror movie, The Necklace. Kurt Russell, Cole Sprouse, Owen Teague, and 5 more join Matthew McConaughey in Black Bear thriller The Rivals of Amaziah King. Sylvester Stallone sells his memoir, The Steps, to William Morrow in a heated auction. The book is set for 2025. Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh join the animated Lord of the Rings, The Retour of Rohirrim. Diane Kruger and Joe Joyner are set to lead the Paramount Plus theater Little Disasters from Big Boys producers Rough Cut and Fremantle. Jill Colton joins John M. Chu to co-direct Dr. Seuss's Oh, the Places You'll Go for Warner Brothers. Is set for the indie drama People Not Places, and Idris Elba launches a new production company with former Pulse and BBC exec Diane Petterly. That's it for this trip around the curve.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hey everybody, woo, child. I'm hot, I'm greasy. It's a lot going on over here, but welcome. Welcome to another edition, another episode of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I'm your host, Carla Renata. If this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you are here. Click that bell for notifications and holler at your girl. If you're watching via Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, welcome. Glad to see you. All right. So I usually get into what I did the week before, and then I tell you what's coming up this week. So this week, I have a great interview for you. There's a show on Tubi called Borders, and it's kind of like if it's kind of like if Different World met a bunch of other shows, but I'll talk to you about that in a little bit later. And that is the director and executive producer, Daniel Lawrence Taylor. I have an interview with him. I went to see Daddio, which is a film written and directed by Christy Hall, starring Dakota Johnson and Sean Penn. Baby, Sean Penn was there, and he was acting out. He acted all the way out. Somebody, you know how you see in the picture how that person has their phone up? He told them people, I need you to put your phones down. It's distracting for me. Most of the people did. There was one person that kept their phone up, and he was like, I'm going to ask you one more time to put that phone down. I'm like, oh, you don't want Sean Penn to come for you. If it was anybody else, I'd be like, I don't know. But Sean Penn, you don't want him coming for you. But he was great. They were great in the film, and I'm going to talk about that a little later. I went to the premiere of Beverly Hills Cop 2. Axel F is going to hit Netflix. I'm so excited about that. That is me in the Beverly Hills Cop jacket next to the Chevy Nova which is the one that they used to drive in the film. Yes, y'all, Eddie Murphy was there. The whole entire cast was there. John Ashton, Judge Reinhold, Taylor Page, I did not see. She may have been there, but I did not see her. And of course, Eddie Murphy, Kevin Bacon, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they were all there, and I had a chance to see them. So last week when I signed off, the Tony Awards were happening. I was supposed to be in New York, but that didn't quite work out because the Who's Tommy was nominated for Best Revival of a Musical. And those people that you see in that picture, that is like a smattering of the people that were in the cast when I did it 20 some odd years ago, like in 1994. We were in the original first national tour of the Who's Tommy, and they had a reunion. I wasn't able to be there, but I just wanted, I know some of them watch this podcast, and I just wanted to give them a shout out and be like, what's up? I missed y'all. As I said, the Tony Awards went down, and I talked a little bit. Oops, I talked a little bit about the Tony Awards in the intro and around the curve, but I just wanted to give people their correct props. So I think Hell's Kitchen was nominated for like 12 Tonys, and they won like maybe three or four. One went to Malaya Joy Moon. She was best performance of an actress in a leading role in a musical. And then this one went to Keisha Lewis for best performance by an actress in a featured role in a musical. And I've known Keisha for a very long time. She's been in the business for over 40 some odd years. It was nice to finally see her get her due. The diva sings her face off. Then Kara Young. I told y'all about Kara Young when I saw her in Pearly Victorious. I think it was last fall. I went to New York like last October, and I told her, I was like, Diva, you gonna win the Tony. And I was right. I interviewed her for a series that she was in called I Am Virgo, and she was great in that, but it doesn't even surpass what she did in Pearly Victorious. If you didn't make it to New York and you didn't see Pearly Victorious, it is streaming on PBS right now. Do yourselves a favor, baby, and check out Miss Kara, because she is acting with her entire body, and she deserved that Tony Award right there. And then women were making history all night long. Shayna Taub rather, was the Tony Award winner for Best Original Score. She won 2 Tonys that night, making history as the first woman to write an entire score by herself. She made history as a woman doing that. Dana Tamor also made history, and Dana consequently is the niece to Julie Taymor, who directed The Lion King, which I was also in. And speaking of The Lion King, when they got to the memoriam, this is what made this moment real for me. Clifton Oliver was our original Simba in the original Los Angeles company of The Lion King, and he unexpectedly passed away. And yeah, so that moment made it real for me. But rest in peace, my brother. Then Jonathan Groff won his first Tony Award for Merrily We Roll Along, right along with his co-star Daniel Radcliffe. You know him, Harry Potter, won a Tony Award, his first ever Tony Award for his performance in Merrily We Roll Along. All right, so let's get into it, shall we? I went to see this documentary called I Am Celine Dion. It is produced by MGM and in tandem with Sony Music. It's directed by Irene Taylor Brodsky. And this is a documentary. I'm going to come back so that you can see me talking about this, because I got some things to say, as I usually do. So, um, why is my nose red? Probably because I'm hot. Anyway, this documentary serves as a love letter to Celine Dion's fans. As we know, she had stopped performing for a minute because she had something called stiff person syndrome, SPS. And what it does, it would cause her body to spasm. Her throat would spasm, her every muscle in her body would spasm, and it was making it difficult for her to sing, let alone stand. She had been suffering with this since 2020. We are now in what, 2024? And so it showcases and highlights a lot of her music that we know and love, but it also is a guide through the life that she has been living, with much resilience and a huge human spirit as she struggles with this life altering illness. When I tell you, one of the most heart wrenching things to watch was watching her. There's a moment where she has a seizure. Something was going on with her feet, and they lay her down on a table to address what it is. And she totally seizes up to the point where she can't even speak. She can't speak. She can't blink. She can't do anything. And when I tell you, it broke my heart, y'all. It was terrible. It was terrible to watch her go through that. But I have to applaud Celine Dion because it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there in this digital world, being the megastar that she is, and be that vulnerable and that open and that honest about what's going on with you. You gonna cry. So if you haven't seen it, you gonna cry. It's gonna hit theaters on 6/25, which is in a couple of days, but you are gonna boo hoo. Um, and this on top of the insurmountable loss of her parents, her husband, and in the credits, child, they said that her dog died. I'm like, what more can one person take? I mean, really. And she's got 3 kids. She's got all boys. It's very commendable. And she told the director that there was a Q&A. They did a screening globally all at the same time, and there was a Q&A before. And Celine had told the director Irene she had one condition, that she tell her story herself. Because a lot of times when you see these biographical documentaries, it's everybody else talking about the person on camera, and you may see them on camera for like 2 seconds later on down the line. But that was one of her stipulations, that she had to be on camera talking about her own life. She didn't want somebody else talking about her own life. I applaud her for that. Let's see what's in the chat. So Brandon says, I watched No Time to Spy, a Loud House movie. As a fan of the Loud House series, is better than the Netflix movie. Okay, thanks for letting the fans know. And you also said Despicable Me and Despicable Me 4 in 2 weeks. Yep, I'm gonna have that for you. And hey, Sad Productions, I see you. Hey, brother, see you. Um, all right, so let's get into this next one. The next one I wanted to get into is this saga that this saga that um, Kevin Costner has coming up in about 5 days. It's called Horizon. And we heard a lot about it, right? We heard, I think he was at the Cannes Film Festival or the Venice Film Festival or something, and he got a standing ovation. And you could see him; he was tearing up, and it was a whole thing. But let me give you the rundown. This is a Warner Brothers picture. It's called Horizon: An American Saga. This is chapter 1. There's a whole chapter 2 coming in a couple of months, I believe, in the fall, and it's almost, this one clocks in at about three hours. It's directed and written by Kevin Costner, and it starts in San Pedro. It starts in San Pedro in 1859, when indigenous people, or Indians, or Indians, depending on, and during that time they called them Indians and they called them Indians. Now they're known as indigenous people, which is what they always should have been known as, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anywho, um, so in 1859 in San Pedro, um, there are settlers moving in because oil has been struck. So not only are they able to get rich with the oil and the gold, but it's sitting on land that doesn't belong to white male Americans. And families and people in droves are flocking there trying to get this land. This is the gist of this story, and it's mixed with the story of a family that's also mixed with a love story. Like, there's a lot going on in this movie, but the first 20 minutes of it is extremely violent and it's very intense. I mean, and when I say violent, I mean they're showing people being scalped, like full on being scalped. My eyes were closed because y'all know I'm not that horror doll. I'm not the one that does the horror. I'm not that dude, that girl. So I'm just like, no. But the first 20 minutes is very violent, it's very intense, and it's a whole battle scene. I have to give it to Kevin Costner. Just like with Dances with Wolves, he is an expert. Him and Clint Eastwood are experts at filming these types of scenes. No matter how long they are filmed very intricately, and they're filmed with the utmost respect and care to the people that are in the scenes. So, that's to be noted. It's taken us into a trip into the wild, wild west. We don't see these types of films anymore. There was a moment in America where all you saw was westerns on TV and in the movie theater. So he's bringing this genre back. And personally, I felt like it could have been like a couple of episodes of a series on television, But I understand why Kevin Costner brought it into the theaters, because it really is the type of thing you don't want to watch it on a TV screen. You really need to see it in a nice big theater with like Dolby sound. Um, the acting performances from the smallest person to the oldest person is fire. And there's something that happens toward the end that you're really gonna dig, because it encapsulates what you're about to see in the next iteration, if that makes sense. I can't get too far into it because I don't want to ruin it for you. I want y'all to go see the movie, and I don't want to tell you everything there is to know about it. But all you need to know is that it's dealing with the wild, wild west. It's dealing with people trying to take other people's land and them going, no, you can't have my land. I'm not giving it up. And if you come my way, I'm gonna scalp you. That's what it is. So there's that. So again, let me just reiterate what I have talked about thus far. We talked about Miss Celine Dion and her documentary, I Am Celine, is coming to Prime Video. And we talked about Daddio, which is going to be, oh no, we didn't talk about Daddio. I said I was at the screening of Daddio. Daddio is coming on June 28th. So I'm going to talk about Daddio right now. I told y'all that I went to the screening where Sean Penn was there. So Daddio is a Sony Pictures classic film. It's directed by Christy Hall, and it deals with this woman. It deals with this guy who's a cab driver, and this girl, and he is on the last. He's doing his last trip for the night, and she happens to get in his cab. We find out very quickly what her situation is, and that she's just not a regular girl getting in this cab. We also find out a lot about him. So what happens is she gets into this cab. It takes place in New York City at the airport, and she gradually tells this driver, i.e. Sean Penn, about her unfortunate decisions in her life, which have led to this affair with a married man. The driver also reveals more and more about his life. It feels more like a play than it does a movie, which is fabulous because it's literally the only two of them in this film. It's just Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson. It's just the two of them, and they are fucking crushing it. Johnson and Penn, with their performances, they draw you into every single moment, every single word. I mean, it at the beginning of the movie, when she gets into the cab at the airport, you think this movie's going to go one way and then it goes another way. It's a it's quite a lovely surprise in terms of storyline trajectory, because it doesn't go where you think it's going to go, and then it ends up with a lovely message at the end. And it's a welcome surprise, that where basically there was something that Sean Penn's character said, where he said, looking like a family man is more important than being one, as he's talking to her about this affair that she's having with this man. And they are disclosing some very raw information, including divorce, abuse, abandonment, self-esteem. The gamut of subjects that are covered in this film are all encompassing, but these two actors make it worth your while to watch it. I promise you. June 28th, Sony Pictures Classic, Daddio. All right. What else was I going to talk about today? Oh, I think that was it. So I said earlier that I was going to play this interview for you from this director, not director, this executive producer from this show called Borders, that is on Tubi. I know ain't nobody really trying to watch Tubi, but I'm telling you, you need to go to Tubi and watch the show. And we're right in the middle of Emmy voting right now. Emmy voting ends tomorrow. So if you have not voted for the Emmys and you are watching this, please try to check this one out and put it on your list of things to watch. So this is Daniel Lawrence Taylor talking to me about Borders. We live in a bubble here sometimes, and we don't necessarily think about what the experiences are for other people of color in other countries. We think that because they're in another country, that it's different. And this shows that it's not, that it's a universal problem, especially the microaggressions and the fact that, you know, at that particular school that you guys outline within the confines of the show, how they use Black students for props or political propaganda to suit their own narratives and agendas. You know what I mean?
When I talk to a lot of black people, it really sticks and resonates for them. But I wrote it for everyone to kind of see, to feel our experiences. I was just speaking about it earlier in terms of, when it was very important that we showed them from the world that they were leaving and entering in this new space, and how my director was great at kind of showing the grandeur and the otherworldness of it, is that I really wanted to show like what it's really like to kind of come out of one space and step into another. And when you step into another space, the people who populate it and how they treat you and how they make you feel. I really wanted it to feel universal for everyone. So even if you've experienced it or you're just seeing the experience, I really wanted people to take that home with them. And I think doing it through the lens of young people away from their parents, it almost, even though it's a comedy and there's really like enlightening moments and fun moments, there is still something slightly unsettling because they are young people being, like you say, used as props and used for people's agenda, and they're still having to like push through and persevere and get an education at the same time. So I wanted to show the weight of the world on their shoulders, and I wanted people to kind of take that away with them to kind of see just how ugly these spaces can be.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the sexuality themes. I love the themes about the friendships being one-sided, because no matter what color you are, these are themes that are universal, right? The whole trying to fit in because you're not accepted for who you authentically are, trying to fit in because you're a nerd and you're just trying to find your way, or trying to fit in because your dad is the president of the school, but you don't want nobody to know that, and you just trying to like, be like everybody else and be gully like everybody else, but it don't kind of turn out that way. you know what I'm you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? And
100%.
and the one thing that I super duper loved was the pressure from a family when you're the one that goes to school to bring it on home for everybody else.
Mm.
I didn't have that pressure in my family. I watched my mother graduate from college.
Oh
So
wow.
I knew that, and my mother graduated from college with two kids hanging on her hip. You know what I mean?
Oh
So to
wow.
watch my mother do that, and then that made me know that no matter what happened in my life, that was going to be possible, that I would
Mm.
be able to get an education. I'm just wondering for you, did you experience that pressure of the family going, you gotta bring it home. You gotta bring it home for everybody. You gotta get this education.
In a sense, there was a pressure for me to do well. And I think when I was choosing my universities, I chose a very predominantly white university because I
Mm.
knew that they did an excellent course. And I almost put the fact that I was going to be one of a few black faces to the back of my mind. It's not until I got there where I was like, and it was the first time in my life where I was being in a space where there were hardly any black people. It was the
Mm.
first time where I was like, oh, actually, was like a was this the right decision? And no regrets. I loved my time at university, even though it came with problems. But I think the reason why I chose it was because there was an expectation for me to do well. And that's the case for these characters. And you have someone like Femi, who is just kind of like, he will do anything and he will assimilate to do it, but he's not too different to Jaheim, because Jaheim will do anything to get to that end goal as well, but he just deals with it in a completely different way. Neither of them are right or wrong. I mean, Femi may be a bit wrong for some of the things that he does, same with Jaheim, but how they kind of enter that situation, you can't fault them because they're just trying to survive.
Femi is a mess. Let's just call it what Femi is, a hot mess. He is. Let's just call a spade a spade. And since you brought up the since you brought up the characters, which one of these characters don't you laughing because I'm telling the truth? Which one of these which one of these characters combined is closest to you? Because I know because as a writer that you have to write what you know. So
Yeah.
some of this stuff is what you know that you've thrown into some other people that can play it out on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say a bit of me as Femi, but after that, I think I won't.
You take it back?
I mean, but I know what you mean. Like, if anything, I think, I wish I could say that. I'd say every single one of them has a bit of me, but if I was to be closest to any of them, I think it would be Omar. Just like that geeky, kind of like hopeful, slightly innocent, not always realizing of um thinking the best of people. And I think I had a bit of that naivety in me as well. But when I got to my university, it was grand and beautiful, and I really wanted to be a part of that. I will say a bit of Femi, but hear me out. the
Okay, go
bit
ahead.
the bit about Femi is what I love writing about Femi, and why I'm not as harsh on Femi as
As I
99% of
am.
people are. Yeah. Don't worry, you're not alone. You're not alone. Is because that pressure to do well, and him entering that space and trying to assimilate, and when he pulls himself away from the black characters, there's an understanding in me in which it's not even so much that he's pulling himself away from the characters that we know and love. It's just as in, like, they represent a world which he's trying to pull away from and do better, all in the hopes of the pressures that he has to do well. And I think that I think in that sense, I never ever like pushed away sides of myself like that. But I was saying this earlier, actually. I feel like I did assimilate to a certain degree. I remember coming back from university and people were like, "Why do you talk like that?" And I realized it's unconsciously, I lost my accent. I was trying so hard to like fit in and to not stand out. So when I say Femi, I never stole, not to do any spoilers, but I didn't do a lot of the things that Femi did. But one thing that I do understand about Femi is, how do you fit into this space? And I'm not saying it was good, because it's probably why I see a therapist now. But it's like there was a certain level of me that assimilated to try my best to kind of fit into these spaces. And so I probably take that little chunk of Femi.
The show gives me vibes of like if the Dead Poet Society had a baby with School Days. That's what it's kind of giving me.
That's
You,
good.
you know what I mean? But last but not least, if you had to bring a super duper guest star in to shake things up a little bit from America, who might that person be?
Issa Rae,
Mm.
I'm obsessed with her. Um, and then I also love Donald Glover, because I love Atlanta. I mean, because they're both like writer creators, so a lot of the stuff that they talk and write about, I'm always so intrigued.
I graduated from Howard. So
Right.
to be able to watch what this other experience was fascinating to me, and I
Mm.
appreciated it, and I thank you for that, and I also thank you for giving me your time to talk about it today. Much appreciated.
Well, no, thank you, and I'm so I'm so touched that it's connected. I wrote it with the intention that it's for people everywhere, so it really touches me when I hear that, and that it's connected with you in such a way. So thank you so much.
Oh dude, you are more than welcome. We had a good time talking about that show. We really did. And I thank Daniel Lawrence Taylor for giving me his time that day, because I know how all encompassing and how difficult it can be when you in the throes of trying to create a show. But let me just tell y'all again what it's about. So it follows a group of Black inner city scholars navigating adolescence in a new affluent boarding school, navigating topics like tokenism and cultural identity. The series evokes a sense of nostalgia while looking into the lives of Black youth, in predominantly white spaces, addressing issues of classism, privilege, and self-discovery. It's like if these kids had gone to Yale or Harvard or Princeton and had to figure out as one of the few how to assimilate and fit in. But this is happening in the UK. And like I said in the interview, when you're Black in America, you think we're the only ones going through that. But again, it's called Borders and it's streaming on Tubi. So let me just go back through what I said so y'all know what to watch. Check out Borders on Tubi by Daniel Lawrence Taylor. Check that out. Check out Horizon with Kevin Costner is coming to theaters this week on the 28th. Check out I Am Celine Dion, MGM Plus. That is dropping this week as well. And Daddio is dropping this week as well. When I come back next week, y'all know who I'm gonna have with me. Well, before I even get into him, I'm gonna have Jaimin Hunsu from A Quiet Place Day One, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn. So I'll have him. But more importantly, you know who else I'm gonna have? I'm gonna have. Ooh, I'm gonna have Eddie Murphy, y'all. I'm gonna have Eddie the Murphy. I'm going to have the entire cast of Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Yes, I am. Let's see what these comments are saying. Oh, you did start watching it? Are you telling me that you started watching Borders on Tubi? Tell me that that's what you're talking about. All right. So yeah, I'm going to have the whole cast of that, and then in a couple of weeks and weeks to come, I'm going to be talking about Despicable Me 4. I'll be talking about Twisters, and I'll be talking about Sing Sing with Coleman Domingo. There's a bunch of it. This it's award season now, y'all. So it's a whole bunch of stuff that's dropping all over the place, and I'm there for all of it. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, if this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications if you were on the YouTube, if you were on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Hello, how you doing? Thank you for joining me. Glad you stopped in. And yeah, all the things. So guys, check out Daddio, check out Horizon, and check out I Am Celine Dion. I forgot to say this. I am a Screen Actors Guild delegate, and we had our convention today. We've had an online convention for the last 2 days. I am doggy dog tired. I can't look at a computer screen for one more second. Yes, Borders. Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure it's really good. You're gonna love it. It's funny, but it'll break your heart all at the same time. All right, y'all. So I think that does it for me in this episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Again, as I always say, everything that I talk about film wise is always written up at my site, thecurvyfilmcritic.com, thecurvyfilmcritic.com. I also have some articles up at Ebert Digital or RogerEbert.com. I wrote a review for Black Barbie for them, and I have a article up about how Black women are changing the narrative in theater, film, and TV. So hop on over to RogerEbert.com or EbertDigital.com and check out those articles that I wrote for that outlet. Thanks to Robert Daniels, Chaz Ebert, Brian Tellerico, and Nell Minow. I'm out of breath for myself. All right, you guys, that does it for me. I will catch you next week on June 30th. We're going to talk about all the films I mentioned. Plus, I'll give y'all some stuff to watch for the July 4th holiday. All right, so love, peace, and hair grease, and deuces until the next time.